All right. So, Nanu, Mr. Lowe, how's it going? Welcome, everyone. I have no idea how many people are here because Twitch says I have 0 viewers. So apparently you guys don't count. You count
Nobody
to me,
actually exists.
You count to me.
There's no actual existence.
It's only the Twitch billionaires that think you don't exist. We love you. So how you doing? Let's talk about games. Y'all want to talk about games? I like talking about games.
I like talking about games. Games are pretty sweet.
Yeah, go figure. We like games. Pseudo, you like games?
I love games.
Huh, go figure. We have something in common. We are
Maybe
going
we
to
should do
start
a talk
with...
show.
Yeah, we should start a talk show or something. Just get together and talk about games all the time. We all seem to love them. I bet you we'd be pretty good at it.
Be able to talk for maybe 2 hours at a time about video games. That'd be pretty great.
I bet you we could even do it every week. Never run out of things to talk about.
I'm sorry. I have a plate of pierogies sitting beside me, and it's very tempting, and I'm going to eat them.
You mean you've run out of stuff to say about games?
I just have more to say about pierogies at the moment.
Did you say you fixed the review template?
I think I did. I think I did last stream.
I think you did too. So I'm going to pull up one. We're going to call it The Golden Sun.
Hi!
Hey, Rift Kicked, how's it going?
The monitor that you're capturing does not currently have the game review template on it.
I know I was going to put it on there when I finished changing the names, but then I had to sneeze. And I held the sneeze, and now it really hurts. Ow. Next time, just sneeze.
Just don't hold your sneezes, just sneeze.
Yeah. You should never hold farts either. Never hold a fart in. I say this with complete seriousness. Please, for the love of God, fart.
Just do it.
Yeah. I had a buddy's grandmother end up hospitalized and in need of surgery. Because...
It's not a good time.
No, she was very uptight about stuff like that, as the older cultures tended to be. And she wouldn't fart in front of people. And there was people over, and she held it for so long that she tied her intestines in a knot and needed surgery to untie them so she could digest food.
Damn.
It was a terrible time.
Yes, so please, fart. Do it. It's good for you.
Do it now. Diddy Mow.
Yeah, fuck that. Indeed. That is the exact response you should have to that. Next time somebody tries to give you a problem for passing gas, just be like, fuck you. I'm looking out for my best interests. All right. Golden Sun. I don't think Pseudo and Rage have played it before. Pseudo maybe. I know he did GBA a fair bit.
No, I haven't played it.
I didn't think so. I know you're not a huge JRPG fan, though this is a special one. Let me say that right away. This was no normal JRPG.
Yeah, this was really quite good.
I was super impressed by it. That being said, shall we dive right in? Taking the lead. I'm still going to give world building an okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it broke the mold. I don't think it did anything fantastic, but it did deliver a damn good JRPG package. Hey, Frenum, welcome. Nice to see you, buddy. I heard a funny joke today about farting. Why do girls fart after they have been to the toilet? Can't shake it, so they need to dry it. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. I like a bad joke, but that's... appropriate response. Now, world building is something you two can definitely comment on, since you guys watched the game with me.
Yeah, I was there basically the whole time you were playing it.
Yeah.
And I gotta say the world building, it definitely feels cohesive.
Yeah.
But it didn't make me feel like I was in that world, if you know what I mean.
Yep, I didn't get a good feel for the world. You never actually see the whole world. You can look at the map, but I get a general idea. Like, I get enough to deliver a basic story, but there's no real lore or history or serious depth to the world.
It's just kind of there, just kind of exists.
Believable and enjoyable, but not deep enough to fully pull one into it.
Hey, word wrap worked.
It is able to...
Did fix it.
Ayo! Ayo, Pookie! How you doing? Is able to deliver the story and meets the game's base needs. Characters.
Characters.
I think it's another okay.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything special about the characters. The main character follows that staple, I'm not going to say anything trope.
I mean, the silent protagonist is great mechanically. It lets you do more of a self-insert thing.
Yep.
But I didn't find any of the characters particularly well written.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
The writing in the game itself I found good, in general. The base conversation between people. But there's not a lot of character development.
I was going to say they kind of fall into a lot of the kind of, like, I guess they're staler nowadays because it's been a while, but they kind of fall into the same kind of JRPG tropes. They'll kind of fall into their roles and they get kind of predictable.
You're okay with okay, though? Like, they weren't offensive. They weren't annoying.
No, they got the job done. They were definitely JRPG characters.
Yeah, they weren't Mew. They weren't. There was no like Jar Jar Binkses in there. Characters were nothing special. Standard JRPG tropes. They did.
Perfectly serviceable.
They were acceptable and served their purpose in the game. And it's not bad, but it's not good. I think that sums it up. They're what you expect.
Yeah. To use a rage trope, I would say that they're fine.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
Yeah. You bastard skeleton. Lowe's playing Dark Souls. Storyline.
So while the storyline was overall juvenile, I did really enjoy it.
I was actually going to say I think this one is a good in my books. I liked it. It's not special or unique in any way, but it's very, very well written, and it loops around. I like their use of the level of the world, where you actually go around and loop and come back to the beginning, re-meet people, re-explore places, a couple different loops through the area. They used the land well, the story was told well. You always have a forward direction, you always have a purpose, you always have a place to go, and that was a big problem in some of those older games. Older JRPGs, some of them, it's just like, hey, yeah, thanks for finishing this for me.
Yeah.
Now what?
The way that it's handled in Golden Sun, I thought was quite good. But while I didn't particularly think the world building was great or the characters were very elementary.
Yep.
The storyline is juvenile. Like, it is very much like a young adult novel.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
It's still very good for a young adult novel. Like, if it was a novel and I had some young adults and they were like, hey, I want to read a book, I'd probably be like, yeah, read this one.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah, I'd be fine with it. Good.
I did already share it.
Oh, you're pimping it? You did. I see that. All right. Excellent. Thank you for pimping for me. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give it a good.
Yeah.
It is a very good, although juvenile story that exceeded expectations and always provided a path or goal through the story, through the game.
And I would say that that's a very important point that you just made there, that it always provides you a good goal.
Yeah.
Where one of the things that I complain about most with video games is when they don't give me a goal. They don't give me a reason to do the thing. And then I just go play a different video game.
Some people would say that Dark Souls doesn't give you a goal, but those people didn't pay attention when they told you to ring the 2 bells.
Yep.
That's just a really, really, really ask. Like the beginning of the game, they're like, do this, and then that's what you're doing for like half the game.
Yep. And then once
it.
you've figured that out and you've been reading all the items and figuring out how everything in the world fits together, then you're like, well, shit, I got all this other stuff I need to deal with now.
Yep. Performance, I guess we just go ahead and say good.
Was it good though? I would say it's okay.
Yeah.
It was nothing standout for the GBA, but it was fine. Like it wasn't running 60 FPS on the GBA.
That's fair. That's fair. But there's no real load times or anything either due to the cart.
Yeah, but that's inherent to the platform it's on. Like that's not anything special that the game did.
That's fair. But could the GBA even do 60 frames?
Depending on the game, yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, could the hardware output it?
Yeah, it had a 60 hertz refresh rate on that screen.
Oh, okay. It could. Hey, CarTube, welcome. Thank you for that extra information.
Were you playing it on the actual hardware, or were you playing it through an emulator, though? Because that wouldn't matter.
I was personally playing it on emulator. That's why I'm looking into it a little bit. And how you doing today, Mr. Tube? I tried to tune into your streaming at 2, but you weren't streaming. That's okay. That's okay. You can take a day off. You do one of the hardest streaming jobs of anyone I know. You play some fantastic quality games over there.
The most quality. The qualitiest games.
You didn't sleep great. I'm very sorry to hear that. We both, or even all three, probably totally understand.
Oh, yeah.
Have the same problems.
So I would say, like, animations were consistent. It felt like a 30 FPS lock, but I don't know for sure. It didn't drop frames, but it also wasn't like, wow, this actually performs super great.
Yeah. Trying to find an actual information on Golden Sun. And I got a confirmation that the GBA could do a 59.95 hertz refresh rate. Almost 60.
Near as makes no difference.
Near as makes no difference indeed. All right. I'm good with calling it okay. It doesn't need a good. You're right. It wasn't groundbreaking or revolutionary. The game loads quickly, does not slow down. There are no complaints about performance, but it did not break any barriers either. It's a JRPG. It's not like they needed to optimize every single line of draw code to get extra frames, so I think it did okay. Animation, I'm going to say, was good, though. So I loved the summons, and the battle, and the movement, and pretty much everything in the game. The only issue was an emulation issue, and that was the stutter that we were getting on the world map. Otherwise, I even liked the way the world map moved around as I walked and gave you a slight camera angle change.
Although the emulation was kind of hilarious because it just kind of went blah, 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 blah.
I did eventually fix it by changing the frame skip, but Then
It was just
blocked
really
out other
funny.
things.
Really funny.
Animation was better than expected and above par for the standard JRPG. Combat had some wonderful summons. Animations. Like the seed spit. Rage loved seed spit.
Yes, the Seeds Fit was wonderful. That was a great animation.
And I was a big fan of Whaleser.
Was that the snow cone one?
No, Whaleser was the whale laser.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
like this snow cone one as well. That one was good.
Yeah, Snowcone was great, but I used it a lot more than Whaleser, but more powerful. I loved Whaleser while I had it. Style, I'm also going to give it a good.
Yeah, the art style was great. Very distinctive. You could very easily tell that it was Golden Sun. Although, have we given a bad to art style yet? I think we've just been playing too many good games.
Yeah, we've just been playing a lot of good games. That's the point, is to play mostly good games. Maybe we'll play a bad one just so we can review it and call it garbage.
And just have fun with it. Sure, why not?
Parallax effect on the high quality sprites added a great feel to combat all the way through.
Yeah, I think every stream I commented on how nice the parallax was in battle.
Yeah, it just added depth. It added depth to the combat. It felt better. And even though as we get to the mechanics, we'll be talking more about that. There's stuff to say there. Musical scores are good.
Yeah, really enjoyed the music. Would I call it a good or an okay though?
Yeah, you're
No,
the
definitely
musician
good.
here. You guys are the musicians here.
Definitely good. I'm remembering back to every time I hopped in the stream and just been like bobbing my head to the overworld music.
Isaac's theme
That's
metal
it.
cover.
Yeah, the metal cover is dope.
Yeah,
I'd say good, especially for like what they had to work with for like Game Boy audio. It was not easy to make pretty good jammers back then. Pretty spoiled now with what we can throw into games.
yeah. Doom Eternal, Doom 2016. Those games could have been
Hot
sold
take.
just as soundtracks.
Hot take. I like Doom 2016 soundtrack better.
Yep, I know you do, but they're both fantastic.
Oh yeah, totally.
Play Ravensword Shadowlands, the game that was called Skyrim for phones. It has a PC version.
No.
No.
Maybe you can get Car to play that.
I'm just gonna call it
Voice
bad.
acting.
Bad.
Why? Why bad?
Because there is none.
There wasn't any.
I know.
That's not bad. That's
That's
okay.
bad.
That's okay.
Oh,
A
it's bad.
JRPG does not need voice acting.
Oh, it would have
I
been
don't know if they
so
could, like,
much
limited
better
speed
with
limitation
voice
for the time
acting.
too.
It is, but we also talked about how bad doesn't necessarily mean a negative mark. It just means it's lacking that thing.
Right. Maybe we need a does not apply, a not applicable.
Maybe I'm just biased because I had to read the whole game out loud.
There's a distinct possibility.
There was a lot of reading, man. I was so dry after every stream. I was going through the water. I read a few lines, I'm like, oh man, I'm dry.
Because I'm trying to think of, I don't remember any of those games really having like any voice acting and like minimal dialogue in any of the games that I played. So it is kind of a limitation of the time too. And
I mean,
feel
it's
like it'd be
definitely a
kind of
limitation at the time. I'm not arguing that. But even just a bit of voice acting would have made the game just so much better. It was a lot of reading, and it definitely slowed down the pace of the game at big chunks of time.
Yeah, I'm mostly just talking about like in comparison with every other JRPG on that platform. It's like we're going to be blanket giving it all bad because of something that they probably couldn't do or fit on the cartridge at the time, and I'm not sure if that's an appropriate kind of label for it. It's like labeling NES graphics as bad because no 3D, and it's like they're great for the time, but that's what they had to work with.
Well, that would be more labeling it bad for labeling its 3D graphics bad would be a more apt comparison, and that would be true. It had terrible 3D graphics because it didn't have any, but you can still look at its style and determine how cohesive, how good it looked. There were still games that looked better or worse on it.
Yeah, I still just feel like a not applicable might be a little bit, because when people look at it at first glance, if they've never played the game or seen it, they're going to see bad voice acting, and the first thing they're going to think is, oh, this game has voice acting and it's terrible, rather than, oh, it just doesn't have voice acting.
So I guess I can justify it's okay because you can still enjoy the entire game. It never gets in the way. It not being there definitely would have improved it some. I understand it can't. I'm just talking in general, but
yeah, it's definitely a note that can be added. It's a part of it being like it's something that would have definitely made the experience better, but maybe just limitations wasn't in. But if it was added, it's definitely would have been something that was good.
I added the note. Good.
I did adjust the permissions on the link. You should be able to view it now if you click that link.
Oh, you set up the link wrong, did you?
Yep, I forgot to set it to anyone with the link can view.
That's okay. That's okay. I think the sound effects were good though.
Yeah, I like
right.
the sound effects.
Yeah, I felt like I was enjoying battle. I was understanding what was happening. They were clear and indicative of events and attacks. Each attack sounded unique, sounded chunky and meaty, never annoying. I've heard some annoying goddamn sounds come out of some of your games, Car. Oh man.
Like Seventh Saga, perhaps.
Hey, Seventh Saga is a masterpiece. What are you talking about? I want a remixed Lux dance beat. Clang, 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 vacuum spell. Yeah. The sound effects relayed information well and appropriate to their purpose. They were never annoying. I'll make you play Record of Lotus War for Dreamcast. Please don't.
Not only is there questionable audio in that game, but we would have to figure out a way to get Dreamcast working.
I was not a Dreamcast fan. I was not.
I think I was a Dreamcast fan, but I think it was mostly that I was a Jet Set Radio fan.
That's entirely possible. See, the problem with Dreamcast was they focused on arcade games. Most arcade games were, quarter pumpers that you don't play forever. You play for a few hours until you're out of money, and then you don't really want to play it anymore. And I didn't really get the purpose of having a whole bunch of quarter pumper games kicking around in my... And then people were like, it had some good JRPGs. It had, 2? I'm not buying a whole system for 2 fucking games.
Unless they're FromSoft games.
Unless they're FromSoft
Important
games.
distinction.
I bought a system for 1 FromSoft game. Granted, the PS4 had a bunch of other good games on it, so didn't end up being just for 1 game. Hey, Raven, welcome. Grandia 2 was awesome, though. I'm 100% with you. Grandia 2 was fantastic. I loved the Grandia series, period. Grandia 3 had some questionable moments, and I probably only beat it because it offered so little resistance. Grandia 2 wasn't only on the Dreamcast, though.
Jet Set Radio.
Skies of Arcadia was a unique to it. Skies of Arcadia came out on PS2? Yeah, I played Grandia on PS2. Grandia 2 on PS2, and Grandia. I played Grandia 3 on PS2 as well, but again, I don't as much recommend that
Skies
one.
of Arcadia was GameCube.
Oh, interesting. I had a GameCube for a little bit. I didn't like it. Well, I bought the GameCube and all the GBAs in order to plug them in as controllers to the GameCube so we could all play Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles together, and then we played it for like 20 minutes after spending all the hundreds of dollars on controllers and console and everything. We're like, this game sucks. We never played it again. And I was so bitter about spending all that money on the console that I never touched it.
I actually liked the GameCube controller. Even though I wish it was just like scaled up like another 10 to 15%, but I did really like that controller.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, this thing is ugly and weird. But I surprisingly really enjoyed it. Like, it felt comfortable. And I played a lot of like Smash Brothers growing up, and like, it's still one of my preferred controllers.
Right on.
Anyway, back to Golden Sun. Accessibility kind of wasn't any.
I think it's okay though. I mean, it's not. There's no real sounds that they need to be closed caption because everything was written instead of read anyway. That was relevant. There's no sound triggers that you need to respond to.
Control rebinding would have been nice, but also kind of wasn't a thing at the time.
Yeah, and there was only 2 buttons for the game. So how would you rebind your 2 buttons?
Maybe we give it be able to rebind to the shoulders. Maybe somebody's got thumb problems. Just saying. But maybe we give it an okay and say not much accessibility work needed. Control rebinding would be nice.
Required to be able to play the game. Control rebinding would have. We all agree that while it is a potential ad, it's an extremely niche thing for a GBA game to have to need. Because like I said, 2 buttons. A and B. That's all there was in the game.
So mechanics.
Yes,
I think
this one we're going to talk for a while.
You want to get into, Deus.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give it a good, just right off before we start going into it. It's not all good that I have to say about it. And let's start off with the bad so we can get that out of the way so that all the GBA fans can hear all the good at the end so that the bad is out of their mind and they forget about the bad things I said and they can just agree with me when I praise it at the end. 60% down. Excellent. So, the bad. Lack of explanation and overcomplication.
Yep. The quasi junction system with the gins was not straightforward. It was very complicated, very little explanation. They don't teach you the depth of the mechanic.
Like, I didn't understand until close to the end of the game that I was getting more spells by putting more of the same element on the people of that element. that was a groundbreaking thing. And I think I was actually on the last boss when I fully realized that. If I think about it.
Well, and then there was when you got to, I don't know if it was the final boss or like the final area, but you basically went, I'm missing almost all of the gin. And then you went and got them all. And then you're like, wow, this game is really easy.
Well, I wasn't missing almost all of them. I had missed 1/3 of them.
Wasn't it? I thought you had missed more than that. I thought you had missed like over half. Maybe my memory is reversed. Maybe you had over half and needed the remainder.
Yeah, I had 20 of 30.
Yeah, I must have that mixed up in my memory.
Or I think there's 28 total. 7, 14, 28. Something like that, I think is what the numbers actually were.
There's a bunch.
Yeah.
And you didn't have a bunch of them, and it was putting you at a big disadvantage.
And I'm okay with that. I actually really, really like that part. You're able to progress as much as you like, and you can do as much exploring as you like until you're stuck, and then you can go back and re-explore a little bit and get some stuff that you've missed to gain all that extra strength, but you only need to do it if you've missed so much that you haven't gained enough strength to progress past the point you're at. That's very well done JRPG progression.
Yeah, I agree.
I like the ability of getting more spells as you add djinns. I think I would mostly remove the whole cross types of djinns changing the spells of a person. It's a cool idea. It's got potential. It's just not implemented well. It's not used well. There's no real major strengths from any of them that I saw. It doesn't play very well at all with the junctioning and unjunctioning system for the summons and the summon powers. And I just think it's almost a trap for the player to fall into.
Yeah, I agree.
I see you nodding, Suda.
Yeah, I'm agreeing as well.
I just tried different combinations to understand djinns and just experimented for an hour or so before moving on to on in the story. Yeah, but sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that while that is a perfectly valid thing to do and a good way to learn the system and progress in the game, for people who don't have that mindset, what's it hurt to tell them what's going on? Gotta let them know.
It's a core system to a JRPG combat like that, and they expect you to really know it. Then yeah, you should be, or at least told the basics. You know, even if it's not going to super hand-holdy walk you through it, at least give a hint.
And I think
my point.
Final Fantasy VIII did a very good job of that with the junctioning system. They walked you through the menus, made you click on the things, and said, this is how you junction things. This is what it does. This is why you want to junction something that you have a lot of in your inventory. And something like that could have really been used in this game to make it a little bit more obvious what they wanted you to do with the system. But it just kind of wasn't there.
Yeah. Basically boiling down to, we'd rather lose because we made the wrong decision with the system than lose because we just didn't know what the system was doing. Doesn't feel like an honest loss. It doesn't feel like a loss that I should learn from or grow from, and even can learn or grow from, because I don't understand to the level that I need to what happened in order to incorporate this information into my play and come back and improve next time. It literally requires just, okay, now I have to figure what the hell these people did. And as we were talking about in Cars chat one time, this is like, some games this is seen, and I think other people played those games and ran with the trope some, of people that played games in another language and were lost and confused, and then when they got to making games, wanted to recreate that feeling. That's maybe not the best way to make games.
It's a great way to deal with story, as Miyazaki-san has demonstrated.
Yes.
But maybe not a great way to deal with game mechanics, as Miyazaki-san has also demonstrated.
Or his B team demonstrated with goddamn adaptability. Whose fucking idea was that shit?
You need to play Demon Souls. It is truly Dark Souls 0.5. It is Dark Souls beta.
I'm aware that it's the beta and it's got some jank, and it's definitely coming. It's definitely coming. I've got it installed on my PS3 already and like chomping at the bit to do it. Pokemon games had a tutorial you could open at any time if you got stuck or did not understand something. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's great.
Yep. And let's all look at the game for a second, and the story, the art style, the characters, the world building, everything we've been talking about. We've been saying it's a great game, but it's a juvenile game. So maybe make the mechanics somewhat understandable for kids.
Make it a little more accessible.
Yeah, I play a lot of games. I get mechanics really, really, really fast. So if I'm having to play with it for a little bit, then it's something you've got to think about, definitely.
But the positive notes are that the depth of strategy available in the combat, as you're saying, is actually fantastic. Like, it's great. It feels like you have good decisions to make, and the puzzles were great. Like, the ability to interact with the world around you was fantastic. Nice little puzzles built with that. The dungeons that you can progress through using your various abilities. Even though Garrett's a shit.
I'll say the dungeons were well designed, but that really falls into the fantastic puzzles as well. Touch overcomplicated. Could have been refined better. All in all, solid combat experience. Yeah, so when we're talking about the different approaches, when I'm saying the depth that it brought in, so like I saw some people saying, I've never seen anybody play Golden Sun the way you're playing it. That's automatically pretty awesome. Yeah, that means that there's enough flexibility in this combat system that you can make it your own and do your own thing. It did eventually make me hit a wall when my just burst everything down before it can kill you strategy stopped working, but man, I was progressing quickly when every battle was one round.
Turns out they can't kill you when they're dead.
Yep. This is true. Low got wrecked. We'll have to hear more about that later. Absolutely. But yeah, just
we still got to do that lore % Dark Souls playthrough coming up.
Yep, we do. As with most cartridge games, not a lot of bugs.
Yeah, weren't a ton. What we saw, I think, can be blamed on emulation more than anything else.
If you're talking about the jittering, then that's 100%.
The jittering, the refresh rate sync issues, when like the tornadoes were just disappearing.
Yeah, that's frame draw rates for emulation from the 60 frame draw of the game.
I don't think we saw the game itself break.
No. Never got stuck, never broke, never prevented me from going anywhere. I remember. There's no like rolling off of the boss's platform.
Oh, Wilson, I love you, but you are so buggy.
My weapons never tripled in damage.
Borderlands, I love you, but you are so buggy.
Trying to think of the last bugs that I hit. I can't remember what I hit recently. Oh, what happened to me in Subnautica? Oh, yes. Falling through water, that was bad.
The location drift on everything, causing accessories for your Cyclops and your base to just not actually be attached.
Yep, yeah, that was fun. You just ran into another boss. Must be games. Can't remember a single major bug from my childhood through the dozens of GBA games I played. Yeah, there weren't a lot of bugs in cartridge games. Developers were much more thorough about it because that was it. There's no updates. There's no fixing it.
You were done. That game was finished.
Like, there is a bug in Final Fantasy VI that allows you to insert a Phoenix down into the memory address that is Gao's weapon. It doesn't actually do anything. It just shows a Phoenix down equipped as his weapon when you go into the equipment screen. And it's complicated, and you have to actually like go out of your way to do it and like set up memory addresses in certain ways by doing certain tasks at certain times, but it can be done. That's an example of a cartridge bug. Actually, a good example of a cartridge bug would be Final Fantasy IV or R2. which actually had the ability to duplicate any item in your hand. You start with it equipped, then you click on a blank screen, blank area of the item screen, go up to your weapon and click the weapon, and it'll unequip the weapon down to the item area. Then when you leave battle and re-equip it, a 2 will appear next to it. Then you unequip it, the 2 will stay next to it. Then you re-equip it, and it'll equip 1 and leave the other one in your inventory.
Infinite money.
No, because one of the characters has a throw ability. So what you do is you just start duplicating the crystal sword over and over again. Just start throwing those at everything. They will throw for 999.
Oh, yes.
Especially to the last boss. There are no
bugs?
major bugs in the game. We experienced 0 on our 100% playthrough. An FF7 double item will duplicate every item. Yep. I'm really, really good at alternating the open-close menu, too. I could just... I'll make 99 of them in, like, 30 seconds. Just by getting the mash going real quick. It's fucking wonderful. The best thing about it is even if you screw up the mash and use 2 of them, who cares? You made 60 at least. Make thousands of cabbages in TES4. Yeah, in FF7, I just mass-produce elixirs and then go feed elixirs to pots. Pots. I like this idea.
So RNG in Golden Sun. I would say appropriate usage.
Yeah, it's a good. And they used it in all the right places. Standard, maybe an okay.
Drops, right?
But an okay is more like it's fine. It's in all the right places. It's exactly where you would want it, and it's nowhere that you wouldn't want it.
The encounter rate in some areas, as I think Suda was about to start saying, was kind of nonsense. Just putting that out there. maybe an okay instead of a good.
Sure. We can agree on that. Let's say if they wanted a good and they didn't want to change encounter rate to keep that feel of this place is packed with monsters, maybe add some items, to reduce encounter rate. I know a lot of games play that way, where you have an item like a sweet water that will give you a nice smell, and then the monsters won't attack you all the time. A little less.
Love the idea behind that. Man, he smells too good.
Oh, he smells so nice. I don't want to attack him.
It's not snowing anymore. Huzzah. Hopefully your power stop's going out and you can play Dark Souls 2. RNG was not offensive and applied in all the correct places. The encounter rate is a touch high in some areas, and a way to control this would have improved the RNG experience of the game. I'm the only one who played it, and the control was okay.
Yeah, it looked
JRPG.
fine.
Yeah. The controls respond as you would want a JRPG to respond. When I hit up, I went up. When I hit down, I went down. Left and right did left and right.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, the amazing Wolf Skeptic. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. And if you've played the games, throw your ideas out with us. This isn't a one-way conversation. It is, but it shouldn't be. You guys are just lazy.
Just because we're speaking with voice doesn't mean you can't speak in chat. We do take chat's input.
Oh yeah, we're constantly watching. So that gets an okay, a good, and an okay.
And I think we all really liked this game.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my playthrough of it. It's one of the hidden gem JRPGs out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Particularly, sorry, Pseudo, go ahead.
Thank you. I think if I definitely picked this up when I was a kid growing up, my prime of playing GP games, I think I would have really enjoyed it. And I don't play a whole lot of JRPGs, but I think it was something that probably would have captivated me, had enough depth, and had enough things going on that I would have enjoyed it.
I particularly enjoyed not even playing them, but seeing the puzzles and being able to come up with my own solutions to them in my head as you were playing through, and sort of just watching the story unfold. And it was very enjoyable. I enjoyed this Golden Sun playthrough quite a bit.
I like Camelot, but I think they're a bit hit and miss, and all they do is Nintendo sports games now. You remember Camelot?
To be fair, those are pretty good. Wii Sports is great.
I do like, man, okay. Before we go on to the next game, I'm going to start setting it up here. Hope you guys don't disagree with our Golden Sun. If you disagree with any of those okays and goods, please let me know. I'll go ahead and tell you why we're right.
Corona and fever. Yeah, that was a little topical.
That's true. Garrett was rocking the Corona fever combo.
Now the question is, did I fix Clear Pimps? I think I did. I don't know if I deployed that fix, but I think I fixed it.
All right, and Subnautica is next. But before we get on to Subnautica, man, I was trying to say something and I forgot what. Oh, okay, the sports games. Sports games got me started on it. I saw a list of 6 things that used to exist in sports games that don't exist anymore that would be hilarious or, strange, and it doesn't really fit maybe anymore. People might not understand. One of the things that I thought for sure would be on this list, especially because the main image was a hockey game. The whole list was like 5 football games and 1 hockey thing, and the image was a hockey game. They didn't talk about how in old like NHL and Genesis era NHL games, if you won the fight on the ice, you didn't get a penalty. It turned into a mini fighting game, and the winner of the fight didn't get the penalty. You were fighting for a 5-minute power play.
That carried on through a lot of games, even up to like PS2 era. And me being young, that's just how I thought it worked. Originally grew up watching hockey, and then I'm like, wait, why are they both going to the box? He won. And I was like, oh, video game logic.
How you win base wars: bunt to first base, fight the first baseman. Repeat until the other team has no players left. I loved that game. I did. I loved Base Wars. We played it religiously. If you don't know what Base Wars is, it's an NES baseball game where the whole team is robots on both sides. You have like this ridiculous level of control of the ball. The pitchers have cannons for an arm, and they launch the ball out of the cannon. And then you use the D-pad to control the ball as it goes towards the plate, and you can literally make it corkscrew like this towards the plate. You have so much control over the ball and where it goes. And then it's up to the batter to hit the direction of where the ball is as it crosses the plate and swing at the right time to actually connect. There's a fair amount of skill, and it's a versus game. We played the hell out of it. So good. So good. It goes up there with Mutant League.
Oh yeah, Mutant League's great. And Blood Bowl.
Yeah, Blood Bowl is a spiritual successor. But Mutant League also had a hockey game. It wasn't just Mutant League football. There was also Mutant League hockey. Also amazing music, because it's a Konami game. Excellent, yes. I don't remember the music. I was too young to appreciate the music at the lever. Time. Huh? Lever.
Hashtag fuck Konami.
Oh. But Subnautica.
Subnautica, indeed.
And this
was quite the game.
It blew me away. Like, I've seen it quite a while. Like, people playing it, but I had no idea how much depth it actually had. I thought it was like a kind of smaller little play it for like, a couple days, day or two, and then like kind of drop it kind of deal. But watching Days play it, I was like, wow, there's a whole lot going on here. They put a whole lot of effort into this. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I literally picked it up looking for just like a little craft or casual experience for a bit. And I started playing it and it blew my mind. Like, this is amazing! And that's why I had to start sharing it on stream. You guys gotta see this. And then all of a sudden everyone's coming in going, I love this game! And then I'm starting to realize, oh, this game's got something to it.
It's got legs. And those legs have flippers on them.
And it beat me ferociously with its flippers. Its flappy, flappy flippers. So world building.
I would definitely say that, in my opinion, the world building is good in Subnautica. They do an excellent job of setting you up on planet 4 whatever. And
4549B.
4549B, the fact that you remember that number sequence with the letter at the end says you probably agree that this is a good. They set you up in a universe. The universe feels big. You feel like you're also on this crazy planet.
I also just remember number strings so much better than I remember names. That's really why.
Everybody should just have UUIDs. But yeah, I think the world building was fantastic.
You're not getting a single argument out of me on this one.
They literally built a world, and it was
Yeah.
they did a damn good job at it.
I'm just gonna use your words on that one, Pseudo. That is exactly what it is. There's biomes, there's environments, there's depths, there's intricacies and relations between the life forms. They're interdependent on each other throughout all the systems. It's wow.
They built an actual ecosystem. It's very cool.
So much more than a game, because there's no direct path through it. So they built a world for you to explore. That's literally what it is. You crash landed on a world and you get to explore a world. Play the game if you haven't. just play it. It's so good. Or watch somebody play it. I think you get almost the same experience if you watch it from the beginning.
Although getting to do your own decisions and your own designs for your base and your own exploration patterns is definitely worthwhile.
Yeah. I mean, I built like a small to medium base, and Needlac was like, I love how massive your base is. What? My screen did go black. You're right. There was blocked out activity happening.
Redacted.
Redacted events. That's the terminology we're using. Redacted events. So characters is an interesting one. I have a tendency towards good, even though there weren't any characters really.
So that's the thing. I disagree with that statement. I think there were actually quite a few characters and they were fairly well developed. You just don't interact with them as you would in a normal game.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to.
You interact with them, you don't really interact with them at all. You just hear their voices in voice logs as basically little radio plays, and they're really well done.
Yeah, you're following along their story and what happened before and trying to piece it all together. And it was actually done well. Maybe Bethesda should play this game and try to remake Fallout 3.
It would have been much more compelling.
We basically said Fallout's 3 story, but those characters were not
interesting or relatable or believable
or well written. While you never meet the characters, you still get a feeling of knowing them as you follow their tracks. Yeah?
Plus the Sea Emperor is dope.
The ones you meet are
Compelling?
The main characters. Ones you meet are quite special. Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put that. The storyline, I don't know. I don't know about storyline.
So having played it, and the one actually going through it, I'm going to call it an okay.
That's where I was leaning as well.
It's almost a bad, but it's an okay. There's a fantastic storyline under there. Maybe just a little bit more of a push onto the start of it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I also understand some of the breadcrumbs at the beginning are RNG, for like which life pod you get first and when they contact you about which life pod. That could definitely be streamlined too. Actually push people to certain areas to help you find the beginning of the trail.
Yeah, and there are so many ways that game can be started. It's I understand what they were trying to do, trying to give you like a feeling of, oh shit, well, I guess I need to figure out how to survive. But they don't do a particularly good job of pointing you in the direction of the rest of the game.
Yes. That's the biggest problem. I love the feeling, oh shit, I have to survive, and the timing and spacing was great, where like I finally feel like, okay, I've got food, I've got water, I know how to get these things, I know where these things are, I can starting to be able to craft basic tools, and then all of a sudden I get a radio signal. Okay, I'm almost out of things to do, and they've given me another place to go. That was perfect. And I found that pacing throughout most of the game actually hit. But the breadcrumbs ended so quickly, and then I ended up in the middle of the story, and because I was pushed into the middle of it, I wasn't really sure where I was going, and it took someone who had half an idea of what was actually happening to be like, oh no, you missed this piece in the middle, and that's why none of it makes sense, and then I could see the trail, and then I could easily follow it.
Yeah, not the most straightforward thing in the world.
So I think that deserves an okay. Could Subnautica be considered an open world game that doesn't suffer from open world-itis? Yes, it is an open world game, and it does not suffer from open world-itis. Or does it? Kind of? It does kind of suffer from it, because you do spend a lot of time just going point to point in a ship.
But
I would say
small distinction would be that the whole technology tree of it kind of plays in more than most open worlds, say as like Breath of the Wild or Red Dead Redemption, where it's kind of like you have X speed that you go, now go all the way across the world with no way to really go any faster, versus here it's like, yeah, it's kind of far, but it's going to be super satisfying when you unlock that technology that makes your ship go faster and you can get there, you know, in no time at all.
Yeah, as the one among us who coined the term open worlditis, I would say Subnautica suffers the least of any open world game that I have seen. It gives you tools to get to and from things faster. You always feel like you're under threat. You always feel like there's danger. You never feel like you're just like, okay, fine, let's go back over there. It still has a bit of the open world itis-ness to it, in that there's a lot of traversing an open world, but I think it has enough pressure on you almost constantly to keep you compelled and interested.
I definitely got to the point where when I was in my Seamoth going around, I just didn't really care what was around me. It's the Leviathans I could deal with. I had to. If they get the jump on me, whatever. But for the most part, I could just point it in the direction and hold forward, and I'll get there.
That it is definitely not without it, but I would say it suffers the least from it that I've seen. The the eventual, like, okay, well, let's just point my Seamoth in the right direction and hold W for a while, is a thing, and it can also be mitigated by like base setup, basically. There is some choriness to it, but not as much as I have seen in other games. And I find the crafting system in particular to be a very good example of how to do a crafting system that doesn't just annoy the shit out of you.
Yeah, I agree. It made you wait a little bit, but it wasn't an obnoxiously long time. Quick moment while it did it. Takes the energy off of your stores and everything in the code in that little span. As far as games I've played and open world-itis, I'd say it's on par with Horizon Zero Dawn. They felt about the same to me. Horizon Zero Dawn the same, like maybe later on I'd be able to jump on a horse and just ride point to point, but I'd still have to kind of think, like, I still have to watch out for this zone and this zone and this zone here. Not necessarily I will die and need to pay attention to that, but if I do get into a fight with something big there, it'll definitely slow me down because they're a big pain in the ass. Constantly watching my surroundings and paying attention to where I'm going.
I found for some reason, and it may be like the density of the maps, that Horizon Zero Dawn had a little too much running around for me. Whereas whenever I ventured out in the little bit of Subnautica that I played, I was always looking for something. There was a reason I was out there. And I
That's
think
fair.
the fact that you're limited by the amount of air in your tank sort of plays into that.
Until you get a Seamoth or something of the like.
Yeah. And granted, I didn't play a ton of the game. I only played, I think, like 10 hours or something.
That's still a fair amount to play a game.
That's a lot for me to play an open world game. I would say it's definitely one of the less egregious, and I found it more compelling than Horizon Zero Dawn, despite the fact that I fucking love the characters in Horizon Zero Dawn.
Did you get out of the little newbie starting area and into the real world, or were you always in your little protected, sheltered area with?
I did get out of the newbie area, and then it got too big and I stopped playing.
Because that's where you start encountering bigger things and start needing to pay attention, and they roam around larger areas.
I played quite a bit of Horizon Zero Dawn, and I think like you're both correct. It's just that the games are two like different kind of open world flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Like the distinction we're missing is that Subnautica is really that, like, it's a resource. That's like the kind of point is, you're supposed to venture out and get it, and not it's a fallback with most open worlds because they can't have it be constantly exciting because it can get overwhelming. So like games like Horizons are like, yeah, there's a bit of travel, but you know what? It's time for you to kind of think, explore what's going on, kind of just take things as they are, not have to be a constant action thing. With Subnautica as well, it's like you're not always going to find what you need. It's going to take, a little bit of like, okay, I'm heading there. Maybe I could have sped this up, but I think it's just unfortunate that that's just part of the genre of things, right? It's not always going to be a 100% perfect experience. It's like the same thing as like playing like a shooter or something, and you die and you get like kind of wrecked. It's like, it's not a fun part, and I think if it happens a lot, then it's really bad. But it's just kind of part of these genres that happens. It's just sometimes there's just little kind of side features that are just what makes the game up, and you take kind of the good with the bad.
I really liked the highlighting of the difference of view set between, like in Horizon Zero Dawn, you have a goal or a target, so you're trying to reach a specific spot, whereas in Subnautica, your goal or target is a specific item, not a specific spot, so you end up just roaming over an area looking for it and then returning once you found it in that area. The playout ends up being very similar, but the mindset is very different.
Yeah, it's a very different approach, and I think Pseudo really hit the nail on the head with that.
That's all came out of Storyline, interestingly.
It was a good discussion.
It was a good discussion. We can never say no to a good question, and chat had a good question. What did we end up deciding on the storyline before we went on our tangent?
We decided it was okay,
Yep.
and it could have really benefited from a stronger start.
A stronger push onto the start of the storyline. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
It's like I found the story no problem, but I found it kind of in the middle. The point where things weren't fully making sense to me.
Which in itself is okay if they then have a good way to go back and explain things to you, but they kind of didn't.
Yeah, and I'm very, very glad that I played it on stream and had some people in the know to say, oh, you should go here and look around a little better. Just kind of nudge me into the right places, because it made me just grow to love the game and my experience with the game. And if I didn't find that and be able to follow that trail, it really could have ruined my view of the game. That would have been tragic and sad, because it is such a masterpiece.
Yeah, the lack of sort of getting you into the story could really hurt the game. And I feel like it would put a lot of people off of it, including myself, if I hadn't, also been invested in watching streams of people playing the game and taking part in their adventure.
Yeah. So performance, I'm just gonna go out and give it a good.
Yeah, I think it's got a 60 FPS lock, which is not the best. Either that or you were playing with VSync on.
No, I was only able to put out 60 FPS in 4K on Ultra.
But I mean, that in and of itself is great.
That was my benchmark. Like, I'm not on a high-end system, and there was no frame skips or stutters or drops, other than like some interesting moments of getting into and out of. Pull up my.
Getting into and out of vehicles.
Yeah, and changing.
Was a bit of a chug when those things happened.
Yeah, average 60 FPS, 60.0 FPS on the dot.
Which makes me think you might have had VSync on, because you were on a 60 hertz display at the time.
Possible, but I'm good with that.
But like, if it was gonna draw more than 60 FPS at 4K on a mid-range card, good job.
Yeah,
game ran well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Super, super happy with it, and got in my way. I got 60.0 FPS solid lock on 4K settings with a 5700 XTOC. Those are amazing numbers for a card like that with a game this goddamn pretty.
There's a lot of stuff going on too. There's a lot of objects in that water with you.
Yep. I like some of their cheats. Like, so not all the fish are actually fish. Some of them are just animations of schools of fish swimming around. And then they'll have like one or two actual fish in the school. So they only have to do collision detection and all that fun stuff for like one or two objects, and they show a whole school swimming around. You can tell when you fly your sea moth through it, and you hear thunk and see one fish come out of the pile, and the rest are still swimming around behind you as you went through them. That's the dead giveaway.
I do love the thunk sound when you hit a fish in your sea moth.
Very satisfying.
We'll definitely be talking about that more up here. And animation is a good. Like every game developer that was watching the fish swimming around going, wow, that's really good.
Yeah, there's also a lot of jank though.
Such as?
Most of the bigger creatures, the less stereotypically fish creatures, animated awkwardly. getting in and out of your various vehicles and bases animated somewhat awkwardly sometimes.
Really?
It was more of a performance or bug thing, I guess, but also animating in and out of things, getting stuck in states between them.
That's more of a bug thing than an animation thing, though. The animation itself was good. It was just the state lock that was bad.
Yeah.
But I liked the animations. I felt they all looked smooth, and I liked the transitions. I actually really enjoyed the animation of getting in and out of vehicles and the base, the way the camera moved through. I just wish it managed to update state on all the overlays and everything properly.
Yeah, that would be great. But like the enemies that animated a little strangely that stick out to me are the clicky blue guy, the squid looking EMP thing, and the teleporter enemies, and somewhat the leviathans. Like their animations, you could clearly tell where their joints were,
The
as
Ghost
opposed to it
Leviathans, you
being
mean?
yeah, the ghost leviathans and the regular leviathans. You could easily tell where their skeletons were jointed rather than it being smooth.
Maybe intentional, maybe not. They're so big that they'd have big bone chunks and might actually move that way.
Yeah, but you wouldn't see like a bend in them. Like it wouldn't be sharp angles.
Well, it is an alien world, but I'm not going to disagree with you. That argument could be made for anything, but in regular nature, I'm with you. Do you think that deserves an okay overall of the like crowd tech they have going on for the schools of fishes swimming and the organic blowing of all the kelp and everything underwater?
I think it's enough that I would not hold it up as like, look how good the animation is in this game. It's like, yeah, it's really well animated, except for these kind of like really weird catches that aren't so great.
Fair, fair. If the catches are enough to bug you, what do you think, Suda?
I think I'd say there was, like you said, there's a few things like getting in and out of the ship I can kind of see, but it's definitely an okay. But I'm kind of leaning more towards good as well, just for like everything that's kind of going on. But there also just wasn't a whole lot that really stuck out to me. Kind of animation wise, it was mostly just kind of model wise. So I'd be more on the okay. There could have been. I mean, some of the Vivans and some of those big guys definitely had really, really nice animations and really kind of smooth movements, but I feel like there could have been a lot more that was kind of added to like the bases and the actual ships. It could have made them do some really kind of high tech, maybe Star Trek things, or maybe getting in and out is not always the same animation. Maybe just have a few so it kind of gives it more of an organic feel when you're doing something.
The other point I would bring up for the animations on a good side is the length of them all. There was never a time where an animation is happening that I felt this is taking too long. They were all long enough to get the point across, but not too long to be obnoxious. It all felt fluid, flowing, never got in the way of the game.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that I totally agree with. They were all very, very appropriately timed.
Final verdict? Still okay?
I lean towards okay, but I understand where you're coming from when you say good. So I'm fine with either of them.
You guys both said okay, so I'm good with the okay. It's a pretty borderline one. It's as close to borderline as we've ever had. Was so close to good. There are any points. They are short, but point across. Trying to think of a shorter way to say it, but I'll just word it out. Catches that held it back are what specifically?
I would say large organism animation, sameness in getting in and out of things. Like it was always the same animation. I guess animation reuse.
Things. 'Cause there's really so many different things you enter and exit.
You enter and exit quite a few things in this game.
Yeah. Maybe you need an exceptional rating for something that is mind-blowing. I think keeping it to the 3 is good. The good is really supposed to be those things that are pushing into the exceptional. There will be some things that go way beyond good, but good. They were good.
And the things that are way beyond good, we do call out in the descriptions as well.
Yeah, we make solid points to say, like, this blew our mind, and yeah, the 3-point system keeps it easier to be almost scientific towards it. Have those clear, crisp separations. Then it's an okay. Okay. He's with us too, so I'm happy with it. Happy with it.
You know, we seem to have reached mostly consensus.
Yeah. And keeping it to 3, I find actually helps us reach mostly consensus most of the time. Been a good system. This has been a really good way to look at games. Happy. Style?
Style, I would say, is a good.
I was hoping that you would not. I would not have to defend this one. You don't really feel the changes in pressure when you go in and out of a base, which leaves it to okay.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. Like, I realize why they left that out.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's just a lot of faff every time you go in and out of something. But it would have been nice to have some indication of that.
Yeah, I always thought it was strange that I could just get out of my vehicle and like, I'm immune to pressure.
Yeah, just jump into the water at over 1 kilometer under the sea and you'll be fine.
Hey, Val, welcome. Yeah, I know, he's 1,600 meters, gets out of the suit, and whew, it's hot down here. But no, I'm with you on style. And even the ability to customize the style in it was just great because George was beautiful.
George was truly wonderful. George was truly wonderful.
There is an exclamation mark in its name. Thank you very much.
I loved the use of color. I loved the minimal but not underdone art style.
Yep. The alien, human, and native planet all had distinct styles, which I thought was very important for the story. It's very interesting how important style plays into the story here, because you need to look at something and understand what it is. So as you're going through and you see this thing under the water, you're like, oh wow, other people were here. Or oh my god, wow, there's an alien lab there. Yeah. Yeah, if they weren't super unique and specific, it would have ruined the game. It would have ruined the entire game. I'm gonna state it that way.
And yet they executed beautifully.
We have 0 complaints about the style. Flat out. That's the best way I can put it, because we don't. Never played Golden Sun games, but I watched Car stream one of them. We're actually talking about Subnautica now. Let me put that name up there.
If you do want to see our little review of Subnautica, you can check out the VOD.
Golden Sun.
Yeah, Golden Sun, not Subnautica. If you want to see Golden Sun, you can check out the VOD. We did really like it. We did have some complaints, but we did really like it.
Yeah. Couple complaints, but I think it was 2 goods, 2 okays in the end, which is solid. That's good.
Yeah, good game.
Yeah. I mean, good is our top score, so it's half top, half acceptable, and that's a totally playable game, especially for the GBA era. Why do I feel like Shrine of Anime implies lots of tentacles? Where do you get this from? And
The Shrine of Amana in Dark Souls 2, referred to as the Shrine of Anime.
I gotcha. I don't think there are tentacles there, really.
No, but there are hippos. Or ogres, or whatever they call them in game. They're hippos.
Tentacles would be merciful alternative to what's really in Shrine of Amana.
Truth.
I don't know. If FromSoft went full tentacle, I don't know if we'd like it.
No accounting for taste, right?
Never go full tentacle. Musical score in Subnautica.
There wasn't a lot of it, but I felt like it was well used.
Yeah, it was used to convey meaning a lot.
The stings that they used were memorable. Like the "Wah, you discovered a thing" music. I really liked that. Subnautica is a really neat game, but it's also the kind that would slowly drive me insane with all the micromanagement.
You can turn off the micromanagement. There is a mode of the game where you don't have to eat or drink and you can just explore. And the exploration is fucking phenomenal and totally worth it. I'm sure you've seen some of it already, but yeah. I'm not usually a big fan of the survival stuff. It was so quick and easy to do in the game, and everything was so readily available. I never felt... Like, I think I only ever maybe spent 10 or 15 minutes total time actually seeking out food and water, if you add it all up. Otherwise, it was mostly just provided for me automatically by all my stuff that I had built from early in the game.
It's one of the few instances that I've found a survival system to like be a good source of pressure rather than
you played it with survival on?
Yeah.
For 10 hours?
Yeah.
What?
Right?
That new grounded game Obsidian is writing on is going to have a survival system in it too. I wonder if it'll be optional in the same way Subnautica's is. That's something we've talked about quite a few times with those systems, is don't include it in the difficulty, include it as a toggle.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a game more difficult, it makes a game more tedious.
But I found that the way that Subnautica handled it was inoffensive. Like, finding food and water was important, but once you got a source set up, then you're set.
Yep, I'm with you.
It's a good way to provide pressure on the player and make them need to plan ahead. And, okay, I only have so much inventory space. I've got to dedicate some of that to food and water. I've only got, so much food and water available to me. So I need to be aware of that. But it also doesn't jump on you and beat you around the head with "you're hungry."
Let's talk about it more when we get to mechanics, because I do want to talk about how it drives the beginning of the game and becomes irrelevant later on once you have other drives.
Yeah. So musical score, I would say okay. There isn't a lot of it. It's used well, and it's fine.
Okay, because I often don't remember musical scores, but you guys are like, it was amazing, so I always wait till you guys hear. But this is another one where I don't really remember it other than conveying information to me, and the information was conveyed clearly in a timeful manner for me to respond to it by using music, so I'm cool with that. There's an enormous delay between the moment I type and when it's received, so bear with me if I feel out of context. That happens, Raven. That's a Twitch thing, not always a you thing. There was not a lot of music, but there was information to the player. Organic. Effectively in an organic. And I've always talk about musical score and sound effect when we're talking there for conveying information to the player. I love that as a use. I think the last time I really praised a game for that was Outlast, where I knew exactly what state I was in of the game, whether something was hunting me and I should be running and hiding or looking for something based on what sound was happening at the time, and I was able to play the game on the sound.
Yeah, Outlast did it pretty well. Actually, Outlast did it really well. Their music just wasn't amazing.
Yeah, no, it wasn't great music, but the conveyance of the information was perfect. I really liked the voice acting in the game. All the voice clips were well recorded.
I mostly agree. For all of the radio play stuff that's going on in the logs, I 100% agree. It's great. The accent, I guess, the way that the ships pronounce words was jarring, although acquired is forever in my head.
But it's also intentional, I would say, by them. It's almost, it's they're going for a feel. It adds to the style. Definitely
Blueprint
gives us
acquired.
I really respect and appreciate games with little. I'm with you. Depends on the game.
When it's done well, absolutely. And I would say that Subnautica does it very well.
Yeah. It built tension with the lack of music in that game. That's why I'm saying depends on the game. Because if it's like a side-scroller beat-em-up, I don't want no music. I want some bopping tunes to punch things to. Forget, is your only method of defense from predators in Subnautica run, or do you actually get defensive measures? Yeah, you do get different defensive measures. You get shields, you get decoys, you get propulsion cannons.
Overall, I would say, yeah, voice acting. The one voice instance of voice acting that I can say I actually didn't like, as much as I love the character, was the final character that you're introduced to.
And you're hearing its voice in your mind, right?
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to be able to interpret it. Maybe they could have been more creative, or maybe they're approaching it on the viewpoint of if it's a sound created in your mind, it would have to be something that sounds native to you.
True. That's a good point. I felt like it could have been a little bit more creative.
I don't disagree, but I do think it still deserves a good on that, because it still felt believable and understandable psychic message.
Yeah, that is the only nitpick I have with the voice acting. Other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That was another thing I liked about Sekiro. We finally heard music in FromSoft games outside of boss battles.
Fair.
Yeah.
I didn't find the lack of music outside boss battles frustrating or bothersome in any way in FromSoft titles. But if that's what you wanted out of it, then there you go.
and let's just first agree that they do have some fucking amazing music in those games, and more music in those games isn't a bad thing.
100%.
But certain areas definitely need to have no music. I think the main reasoning for having no music in so many FromSoft areas is the use of audio for enemy positioning. Hearing enemies coming up behind you.
And the level of tension that not having music can create.
Yeah, I was going to say some areas need no music for the tension as well. The depths. Stuff like that.
Blight Town.
Blighttown. Yeah, Blighttown needs no music. Just walking through the dark with a couple torches in the distance.
The music for Ash Lake.
Oh, yes. Ash Lake had music with no bosses. That's a good call. Though it's not a mandatory area of the game.
And it is really good music.
It is. And most of the games are kind of depressing in a way. That is correct, Pookie. But you can definitely convey and or improve the depressing conveyance and experience and feeling and mood with music. For sure. It can be depressing.
In 99% of scenarios, I would 100% agree with you. I think FromSoft knocked it out of the park because the way that they did it was more about loneliness. It was
I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I'm just saying in a general sense.
Yes.
Can improve a sense of depression.
Anyway, voice acting.
Yeah, I've already given it a good. I don't think we want to.
We could mention the final character just as the final character. That voice in particular could have been approached more creatively. I don't think that gives any spoilers.
Okay, I'm with that. We really enjoyed all of the voice acting. Final voice could have been more creative.
Fark Souls. Yeah, the gutter in Dark Souls 2 is fantastic.
Deep area in Dark Souls 3 last night. Yeah.
Fark Souls 2, actually. But the gutter is probably my favorite area in Dark Souls 2.
The gutter, the part on the way down, or the bottom part?
It's the part on the way down.
I like that part. Yeah, I liked that part. Once you get to the bottom and all the statues are spitting poison at you, that part can just fuck right off. Yeah. Yeah, on the way down's great. I love that part. I hated the poison statues. Because that area just became about memorizing the route that I'm safe in and running that route until I know how to run without dying. That's all that area turned into. I fought for a couple times and I was like, yeah, fuck all of this. Finding a path.
Got a big old nope, and then you just ran to the boss as fast as you could.
Yep. He was a good fight though. I liked the boss in the area a lot.
Val, we need to make Fark Souls. That needs to be a thing.
Please do not steal. Well, can we community design it at least? Maybe able to play Dark Souls 2 on your laptop. The requirements don't look too bad. Make sure it runs well. Can't be having frame slowdown. That's a bad thing in those games.
Although if you lock to 30 FPS, that would actually be advantageous because the game durability works differently at 60 FPS.
It's wild.
Yep.
So sound effects. Pseudo Rage?
I would say okay. They were effective.
Because I know you said you really liked some of them.
Yep. The thunk of a fish bouncing off of your sea moth is one of my favorite things in the game.
Still not old. I still love it.
The sound effects of the reefbacks are wonderful.
Yes, I love the reefbacks. This is a good point. All of the everything has its own unique sound. Echoes well. What would you have liked then?
The thing that sticks out to me as the most egregious is the knife sound always being exactly the same.
Mhm.
The drilling noises, the banging on rock chunks was actually pretty good. I thought it had enough variation to it, but the drilling was drilling.
Yeah, it's just
Felt like it
one,
was drilling in
like
my
a
ears.
couple seconds of loop played back.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
There were some sound effects I really loved, and the rest of them were okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of what you were saying, I think. So it doesn't sound just like a loop on repeat every few seconds.
Most of the animal sound effects were really good, though.
I can add that. We'll give it an okay. Accessibility. I don't remember a lot of options in it.
Control rebinding. I don't remember if it had separate audio sliders.
Want me to load it up? I can do
See
that.
if there's a screenshot of the options menu. Subnautica options menu.
And so many monitors now, I don't know what to do with it all. Got space here, I got space there.
Yeah, there's very little.
Yeah, I remember it was super minimal.
Keyboard
like almost
rebinding
bad
good.
level.
I don't see any volume sliders.
Yeah, I basically just had subtitles and keyboard rebinding. Keyboard rebinding standard because it's a keyboard. Had nothing. I don't think it had proper closed captioning, just subtitles. Yeah, I think it deserves a bad. I mean, it's a wonderful game, but it's not great if you're not able to use all your senses in any way.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, but it is what it is. They need to add that. At least some sort of support.
Yep. Is what it is. But the mechanics. So this is where we were talking about the food mechanics, and I've been waiting to get to this one so I can talk about the food mechanics, and I've been keeping it at the front of my brain just so I don't forget, because I'm so good at forgetting things. It's one of my specialties. Actually, Val, immediately after we had talked about it, hit pretty much the nail on the head, saying, I guess it's mostly in the beginning to give you a point of something to do, and that's exactly what it is. The first time you get into your pod, you know, you sort of feel around, you learn the controls, and then all of a sudden you're like, I've got food and water needs. Got a bottle of water.
I guess I better go
some
find
food.
some food.
And you start by, you know, having to bring it back. You go catch some fish, you bring it back, and you craft it into cooked fish, and then eventually you get your knife so you don't have to deal with the crafting. You just hit the fish once and it's cooked and you eat it, and that basically takes most of your food needs away. Your water needs go away real fast as you're out, you're just like, oh hey, a piece of salt, you grab it. That's 2 bottles of water. That lasts you a couple trips quite often. That goes until like the second skipping stone on the story, which sends you up onto land. Wow! 4-month streak for GlenCon. Thank you very much for the resub. Love to have you at the table. Enjoy your seat. Welcome. Come join the conversation. What did you think of Subnautica? Or you just came at the best part. We're talking about the mechanics in the game. And
we
like I was saying,
had
so
a
this,
whole rant earlier about how this is probably one of the least open world games that I've played. And I actually got 10 hours into it with the survival mechanics on.
yeah, that's amazing. But yeah, it starts out as a thing, and it drives you to explore, and it keeps you busy if you're new to the game long enough for the first radio call to come in. And it gives you direction at the beginning of the game because you're required to go and explore and find a way to survive. And once you're comfortable with this and you're like, well, now what do I do? You've almost certainly got your radio call by then. It gives you direction to the next point. Pretty quickly after a couple stepping stones where you're going to have to now start doing a lot of exploration. You're going to be out there. You're going to be spending a lot of time crafting and finding. They want you searching the ocean floor. They don't want you worrying about food. All of those things become pretty secondary, pretty fast, where it wasn't like, oh, I have to pre-plan my food anymore. It was just, oh, geez, I'm kind of hungry. Grab my knife, jump out of the ship. There's a fish. Whack. Let's go. Done. That was the entirety of the food problem. As long as there was something alive around me, I could eat it.
And then once you get to the point where you can actually grow food as well, like it really stops being a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, the growing food and water is also solved by the growing food, where every time you come back to your base, or if you're smart and put a bed in your Cyclops, every time you come back to your Cyclops, you just eat a few melons and your water's jacked up and your food's jacked up and you're good to go. And it took maybe 20, 30 seconds. I built the bed on the path from the entrance of the thing to my helm where I had to go to pilot it. And yeah, really no time out of the game at all. I really, really liked the implementation. I think this game is making quite a splash, but it seems like a small fish in a big pond.
The fish puns.
You can just see yourself out now, sir.
What else is there to talk about with mechanics that we haven't already gone over?
Well, we should talk a bit about the progression.
Yes.
Because the progression was really, really nice. I'll hand in my chair on my way. No, you can keep the chair. That's yours. We want you to have the chair. Yeah.
The progression I thought was very well paced. Even if you didn't immediately go for the radio signals, you were, if you're busy with something and you're trying to figure out, oh, how do I build such and such a thing? Oh, I've got this radio signal. Okay, I got to remember that. I got to go back to base and check it out when I'm done what I'm doing right now.
Yep. Yeah, there was never anything forced. You always had your own task. And no matter what you were doing, it was progress. That's
you were always working your way towards something.
Yep. Yeah, like I say, so you start with the basic suit, then you get flippers. You can go a little bit faster, get a little bit farther out, be able to return. I believe so. Stole my words. Yeah, and then you go up to your Seamoth, and you start being able to go a little bit deeper, and then even the Seamoth has progression within itself, getting the depth modules and pushing you into deeper biomes and deeper biomes. Then you go into, what you need for the next ship is at the very, very tip of the biome. So even if your progression path is just crafting driven, which is what mine was primarily driven at the beginning because I missed the beginning story trail, just by following the crafting progression, I was able to find the biomes and transition to deeper and deeper areas in order to progress.
I thought it was very well done. I don't really have any mechanical complaints about the game.
Yeah, you got to get on the Fark Souls wagon.
The complaints that I do have are more around the state machine.
Yes, we'll get to that one next. Mechanics. were well thought out, interconnected. Worked to drive the story forward and provide meaning to the player at all points of the game. Drives become less important as new drives are so well balanced that way. It still shocks me when I think about the actual progression path of everything that I took through the game and how smooth it was.
Yeah, the pacing of the progression was fantastic. Bugs, bad. The fucking buggy game, man.
My favorite was when the brine saved my life. My favorite part.
Yeah.
Jumping into the brine saved my life. So I got out of my Cyclops at 1,400 meters. I think that's where that was. Oh, no. The moth can get there. It's right at the tip of the moth. That's right at 900 meters. That's where I was parking my moth. So I was getting out right at 900 meters, and State Machine bugged, and it thought I was still on dry land while I was underwater. And it dropped me out of my Cyclops and left me staring up at my Cyclops and my base going, fuck. And I jumped a few times. And then I saved the game and quit and reloaded. And it saved the State Machine. So I was still stuck and now saved stuck. However, luckily there was like a brine pit deeper, just a little bit deeper down, that causes damage to you. So game design logic kicked in and went, well, if it's gonna give me damage, then I need to change state at least somewhat into the damage void there. Hopefully it'll recalculate when I jump into it and realize I'm swimming. Sure enough, when I jumped in the brine, I was suddenly swimming, and I just swam out of the brine. Saved the entire playthrough.
Yep.
Wow, that was a bad bug. And that's the tip of the iceberg.
And all of the State Machine issues getting in and out of things.
Yeah, I don't think I played a game longer than 10 minutes without a State Machine bugging and having the water dripping down my vision as I'm walking around my base.
Yeah.
Or
air bubbles coming up in front of you.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed when I planted the tiger plant in my encapsulation exhibit, and it decided to shoot at the fish that were swimming by the outside of my base, through my base, and just shredded my whole base and flooded the whole thing while I was gone. Yeah, don't plant tiger plants in your base. They will fucking wreck it. Just shred it. It was destroyed when I got back. There are too many bugs to list. It is sad. The game was so good, I played through them. I don't know what else to say. Too many to list.
Too many to list, including some major progression blocking, save file destroying bugs.
Let's verbally point out that you can only have one save slot for your file.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, like, make a second save. You just hit save and it replaces your old file. That's the option in the UI. That's it. So those potential state issues are, yeah, that's a real big deal. Real big.
Yeah, your game could be totally ruined by the bugs, and like if you hadn't been near that brine, I don't know if you would have been able to recover.
Yeah, I don't.
Unless you could like find some other way to take damage.
Just gotta kill myself. basically, at that point. Spawn. Which isn't too bad. You only lose a couple items out of your inventory.
Right, but if that happens when you're out exploring in the Seamoth at 900 meters, and now your Seamoth is destroyed, and you didn't have any other tech, and
Was it no longer testing for you drowning? I think my oxygen was going down, but I can't remember. No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was. I don't think it was. I did read me as being outside until I jumped into the brine to recheck state and recalculate state. And yeah, I was lucky I was close to brine, and I was lucky I understand enough about how games work to figure that might work for me. And that's what saved that run. Otherwise, that was a deleted save file with almost 100 hours. Is where we were in the game. We were almost at the end of the game by that point. We had already been exploring the very, very deepest parts of the craters. RNG.
The only RNG I can think of in the game is the initial radio call.
Yeah. You know.
Is the map seeded for every playthrough?
No, it's a standard curated map.
Okay. That might have been something maybe for replayability.
No, I think they need that curated map. It's too technical, it's too detailed, it's too intricate. There's so many requirements for certain vehicles being able to fit into certain areas and certain things being at certain depths at certain spots.
I believe the wreckage may be seeded, like where you find certain things, but it will always be within a certain biome. So you'll always be able to say, go to the mushroom forest and find certain parts there.
Needlac was able to look up like pretty specific coordinates for where certain wrecks would be with certain items in them.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe not then.
Yeah, it's pretty curated, and I'm okay with that because the experience with the curated map was so goddamn good, and I don't think they could have done it with random generation, and not every experience would be that good with random generation.
No. I agree.
So what was the RNG? Just the calls, which I think are supposed to be able to lead you to the right place. Oh, you know what happened? One call got mixed up with my other calls, and I thought I had been there and I hadn't, and that's why I didn't go to that second stone. That's probably more my fault than anything.
So the radio calls may not, in fact, be RNG?
They are RNG for the order you get them, but I don't think it necessarily impacts the story. I think that was just my oof. That happens. So I'm good with a good on the RNG.
Yep.
Any arguments to that, Pseudo?
No, I'm fine with that.
The only thing that would change my mind is if those initial calls are not RNG, and then we'd basically just have to say, okay, not applicable. Or maybe good, not applicable, because this sort of game you don't really want RNG.
Yeah, well, I mean, good and bad isn't necessarily has it and doesn't have it, right? It's the application of RNG in each game. We've given good for having too much, and we've given good for having none. Depends on the game.
Yeah. Depends on the style of game.
Yeah, we've actually you've given a bad for not having enough once.
It's true.
Shadow of War. Not enough RNG on the orc events in the battlefields and stuff. That was the best part of the game. Use of RNG is minimal. The initial calls are slightly RNG, and what pops out of the ore when you crack it. These are acceptations in a survival game. Otherwise, everything is where it should be, which is proper, because you really need the thermal reactor pieces to be in certain places, and you need the nuclear reactor pieces to be in certain places, and you need the prawn arms to be in certain places. And it's all critical to the path of exploration and the advancement through the game, and it's curated very, very well to that degree. I really liked the control. I thought it was intuitive and responsive, and I never felt like it was not doing what I wanted it to do.
I also wouldn't say that it was great, though. I would say it was perfectly serviceable.
The only thing about the control that bugged me isn't a control mark, it's just another red mark on the bugs, and that was trying to use the prawn suit outside of the water. Where we think it was like
that's more buggy.
phasing through the floor and not letting us walk or anything, and yeah, it was weird.
I lean more towards an okay.
Pseudo?
It's hard without actually having to, because I haven't actually played it. But you guys have a little bit of experience. It's harder for me to go and give a full opinion just from watching you guys. But it totally looks. It totally looks like it's at least an okay. I would agree with that. I mean, it didn't look like you were fighting it too much, or like you were bumping into things, or when you go to move your ships, when you go and move around, you're not really bumping into things, hitting edges, or like getting frustrated, being like this thing doesn't go where I want it to. It seems like it was a fairly smooth, at least, experience on that end.
Okay, that's fair. I can go with the okay, but I would like to point out that they nailed the truck experience with the Cyclops, 100%.
Yes,
they really did. Like the first time I got in it and tried to pilot it, I was like, I am all blind spot. How do I drive this thing? Clang! Oh no! Clang! Oh jeez! Clang! Oh, what have I hit now? After like, driving it into the tubes and going through a couple caves and everything, it was just like, oh, I need this camera now, flick to this camera, move it around, swing the tail around, back it up. I was even backing it into my base to park it so that my prawn fell down in the right place. Like, it was just so easy to control once I knew what I was doing, but you had to get used to piloting specifically it. The sea tank,
and the
exactly.
The Seamoth handles just like you do, except faster.
Yeah, the Seamoth was fantastic to drive. That's kind of why it's so different when you get into that thing, because it's like the smallest, nimblest little thing. I learned how to juke out Leviathans, like look at their angle that they're coming at me and okay, and speed up and slow down and change angle and shoot down and then stop and back up, and they'll fly right over me and then take off and follow along behind them where they can't turn around to bite me. And it's like, these are like my pets. They're my buddy when I'm in the Seamoth. It's not a big deal. I actually loved the control. I think it's a good, man. Those ships felt so good to control. Really did.
I think my issue with control is more around how slippery the materials could be.
Like when you're walking around?
No, like you crack a piece of sandstone. The material that was inside it falls out, and now you have to go chase it down the side of this embankment that you've been digging on. And I think that's more my issue, is that I felt that clunky.
I didn't really have that problem because I just double clicked and then went crack and pick up before it floated away. Because I was on a slant and there's gravity and water and things are just going to start going down as soon as I free them.
When I was out, I was always very specifically after one thing. So I'd have to like try and figure out what it is and then grab it if I wanted it.
So all of your fancy FromSoft reaction times can't go click, this is this, click.
It felt clunky. It felt bad.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't have that reaction with that. I was able to click, see what it is, maybe look down a little bit to get it in the center. The complaints I would have with it, like accessing the storage in the prawn suit.
That is also something that could have been patched. Because I do remember more of a delay between cracking the sandstone and the actual thing coming out of it when I was playing.
You mean in mine than when you were?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did find they kind of floated. Listen, a shinobi isn't nimble in the ocean. I was a shinobi? Did I miss that? See? Damn it. This is why they got to put you at the beginning of the story chain, so I don't miss these important details like this. Why didn't I know I was a ninja? And where's my goddamn sword so I can take on Sammy?
Don't take on Sammy. Sammy's nice.
He's not nice.
He's the safety reaper.
He just wants a kiss, right?
He wants to keep you safe. He wants to keep you off the death gulch.
Yeah, he just walks up. He's like, okay, now Kith.
Yeah, you know, thinking back, I'm okay with a good.
The ship's controlled individually and so well. I've seen so many vehicle controls done so poorly. I just loved it. The vehicle controls were deciding good factor. Nothing is seriously egregious, though. Manual, actually not even manual, the gathering itself, because I remembered being kind of pissed off once in a while trying to pick stuff up in the prawn where it has to be so accurate to the middle, and I kept punching shit instead of picking them up. So we'll list all of the gathering in there. Far Cry.
And then manipulating your storage when you're swimming up to a vehicle, trying to find the storage compartment versus the upgrade compartment versus getting in the damn thing.
Yeah. Getting into the thing I liked. Most of the ship was get in, and it was pretty easy to do. I would have liked the compartment to be either a little bigger or maybe let me access it while I'm inside of it. Let me just get in and have a little access to the ship's thing and move them back and forth that way, so I don't have to go outside and swim. But it did add a bit of depth and realism to it, but it was an inconvenience depth and realism that wouldn't have taken anything away from the game to not be in it. So the
Agree.
Gathering controls could be. That's a good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. 2 good games with their own problems in today's review stream.
The bugs are the major thing in the gameplay that brings it down to the okay. If it wasn't for all the bugs, it would be a good. Even with the bad accessibility, it would be a good.
But it was just so buggy.
The vehicles in Far Cry are notoriously to control. I didn't play any of the Far Cries. Not my thing. So
The first one was good.
We went full 2 hours, but we do have to do some
game
Game
giveaways. Time for free video games.
I like free games. Oh wait, I'm giving them away. I don't get free games. That's okay. I like giving away games. Giving away is more fun. Let me grab my list here. So, did chat agree with us? I didn't see too many disagreements in chat. Just a lot of you bunch of yes men, just sitting there nodding like, yeah, whatever you guys say is right. Mm-hmm. What do you think we are, YouTube?
Please don't compare our chat to the comment section on YouTube. Our chat is much better.
The first game that comes to my mind, I'm just setting up all the names for the draw here. First game that comes to my mind for bad vehicle control is Just Cause 3. That game was a travesty.
Yeah, not good.
I think of Time Splitters. Even though I love that series, the vehicles were definitely a bit of an afterthought.
That's unfortunate.
It was okay. It wasn't like a needed thing in the game, and I don't know if any of the maps really used them. It was just in like custom maps. And whenever I played it, we'd always have an inside joke of you'd always end up Austin Powersing the vehicle, and that's when you get it stuck in the hallway, and you can't go forward or back. It's just completely sideways, and it just blocks the hallway. And like you don't know how it happens. You're just driving the hallway, you hit an edge, and the next thing you know, you're sideways, and you're like, oh, I guess I don't have a car anymore.
I guess we're stuck.
Well, this one's a write-off. Okay.
Hot take. Didn't like the vehicles in Halo. Didn't like them.
Yeah.
They were strange, but like the warthog was always just fun for me, just to like look right and then look left really fast and just kind of whip the tail around and then end up always flipping and killing everyone with me. And everyone's like, "What are you doing? We're supposed to, take an objective." But yeah, they were a bit weird.
50-50 on the vehicles in Halo. Yeah, I can see that. Oh, also the vehicles in Borderlands.
I liked them once I got used to them, but they were definitely something to get used to first.
What's weird is Borderlands was initially going to be like a racing shooting game. It was gonna be all
Like
about
Rage?
the cars. Yeah. But then they just came out not like that at all.
Is Sergeant Punk here? Hopefully he comes back. We haven't seen him since, but you gave him a sub and he won a game.
Punk won a game. Hopefully he comes back.
A pretty good game, too. Hopefully he comes to get that one. That was one where even you were like, I might want to win that one.
Oh, yeah. DMC4. That's a good game. If anybody knows Sergeant Punk or where they came from, where they ended up, let them know. They want a free game. Come collect it.
Yep. I absolutely. How many are we doing today?
How many entries we got?
No extras today. Just the standard 19 for the subs, minus us. 19 people?
Let's do 3 or 4 then.
3? Said 3 first. We'll go 3. We're also running short on time.
Alex Gamer.
Alex
7.
Gamer. Yeah, he's here fairly often. I know who he is. I can track him down. He's got a copy of Super Hexagon.
Ooh, that's a good game too.
Of course they are. Every game we're giving away is a good game, dude. That's the whole point. Hey, I don't know how we're gonna find this asshole.
Oh, that Raven guy winning free games.
Interesting. I hope it's your bag. It'll definitely give you some time. It'll eat some time, if nothing else.
It will destroy and consume time.
If you ever needed something to keep you busy while you're in lockdown, that game will consume your time. Raven just called me and said he's dead. Oh.
Okay, well, I guess if he's dead.
Well, then we should just give it to you, I guess, Val, right?
And if you'll increase the font size on that document there, Deus, if anybody knows any of these people, these are games that
I gave Riffkick his. No, I gave Val his too.
Have not been claimed yet, although the list hadn't been updated. So these games still need to be given away to the people who have won them. If you see them, let them know. They've won free games. Come get them.
The list is also right down below. I keep it constantly updated, so keep an eye out for your name if you're also a sub and coming in. Don't know any of them, alas, that's okay. I know at least these two are easy to
Raven,
find.
But then he died.
Yeah, Raven died, so we'll just have to give that away. Now you got my attention. Yeah, Civilization 3, my friend. Free Civilization 3 key for you. This one I really, really want to deliver. Like that's just such a fantastic game that person needs to get their hands on it and play it, because it's David Cage. How can you go wrong? Goddamn David Cage.
Also, if Carr is still here, if you see any of these people, please do let them know they won a free game. Let them come claim it.
Yep, we've got maybe another 35 or so keys to give away at least. This is going to continue for a month, at least. Sub for a free chance. Come in, throw 1 bit. We don't have a lot of turnover in the channel, so 1 bit usually gets you an entry. It's a 1 penny entry. I heard David Cage makes great, vaguely interactive movies. Yeah, I hear he practiced under the school of Kojima.
Light interactivity. You occasionally press button. As
They should-
opposed to Devil May Cry 4, where you are constantly pressing buttons. I really like that game. Nero is really fun to play.
Yeah, Rage enjoys pressing buttons. So next week we had it planned. We talked about it.
We did. Let's scroll up in the scroll ups.
Memory is a wonderful thing. My
don't
memory
know.
needs
I don't
constant
know.
tech support.
We're doing something.
I can't look it up, otherwise your guys' videos will disappear. I had a good idea. I remember that.
You had an idea for doing like cable management and desk setup.
There was the open source game idea. But we take input. Chat will pick a theme in a genre. I
Oh,
believe,
yes.
and then we work together.
That is exactly what it was, Pseudo. Okay. So, I wanted to do another game design session, because that's always fun. So next week, we'll be getting together and we'll be putting together an open sourced game design for anybody to grab and play with the entire scope and design idea of the game to keep it small scope and easy to build for somebody that hasn't built a lot of games before. So you can give yourself some guidance as you do it. David Cage-itis equals fat people are bad. I'm not kidding. Yep. Pretty much.
So yeah,
That sums it up.
that should be a pretty fun little panel that we're doing next week. If you have any ideas, if you have any thoughts on like unexplored settings that you'd really like to see a game in, we would love to hear about them. Love to hear about genre ideas. Let's keep it a little more constrained on the genre ideas than say Nier Automata, which is actually like 7 genres.
It's not a good first game to try to make.
Yeah.
not a good idea.
Wonderful game. Absolutely love that game. But you have to be Platinum Games to pull that shit off. And even then, it got a little samey. But
Match
yeah,
3 set and everyone. Yeah, stuff like that. We'll be taking genre ideas. We'll be taking setting ideas. We'll be mashing it all together. We'll be coming up with basic mechanics to make the game fun but easy to create. And then we'll be saying, here you guys go. If you want to run with it, it's all yours. Giving you the ideas. Before I go, I'm not sure. Rage and Pseudo, do you guys want to shoot things later?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I'll probably be streaming a little later tonight with some shooters because I've got this fancy new shooter monitor. So some Payday 2 we were playing. We'll probably do more of that. Maybe some Killing Floor. Nier Not a Tomato. Pretty much.
We are not playing Destiny 2. We haven't. I don't think we've played since the last time we played with you.
Yeah, that was the last time I touched the game. Who are you calling a tomato? Okay. Break it up, you two. Back to your corners. Count to 10. No hitting below the belts.
Don't hit him in the tomatoes.
The ketchup. Oh, the ketchup. All right. Thank you very, very much for coming. I hope you guys had fun. We had a blast reviewing these games. We look forward to next week. We look forward to later tonight, so I hope to see you later tonight as well. Until then, I'm Deus.
I'm Pseudo.
And I'm Rage.
May all your shots be headshots.